You've just bought that brand new webcam, you pulled it out of the box, plugged it in, and well, you want to package it back up and send it back for a full refund because it looks like poo. Hey guys, Tennille from Shore Social here. Today we are going to be making your webcam go from poo to amazing in 3 simple steps. Okay, so the first thing we need to do before we can do anything is obviously open up OBS and add our webcam into the source field. Now to do this, you need to jump into the sources pane down here, right click, add, and we're going to add a video capture device. I'm going to rename this to C920 just so I know that this is the webcam. So as you can see, pretty gross. Let's move on to step 1 of improving your webcam quality. Firstly, we need to fix that resolution and frame rate. Now to do that, we need to go ahead and right click on our webcam and click properties. The first thing we're going to want to change is the resolution. Now by default, everyone should be running on 1920 by 1080p, so let's just go ahead and change that now. Come down to where it says resolution and FPS type and click custom. It'll do some flickering, and we're actually going to, in the resolution pane, start typing 1920 by 1080 and it should automatically find that there. Scrolling down, we're going to be changing our FPS to the highest possible. All right, we're going to be skipping video format and moving straight down to color space. Now usually with webcams you get 2 options. This is where you start to play around with the color range yourself. So have a look at 709, see what it looks like, then have a look at 601 and see which you prefer. For me, I'm going to go with 709 because it just looks like it has more color in this option. Moving down to color range. Obviously, we're going to pick the full option because we want to access all the color our webcam can give us. All right, moving on to step number 2. This is where we fix the colors, focus, and white balance of your webcam. Now, there are 2 separate ways to do this. If you are running a webcam that isn't Logitech, just right click on your camera, click properties, and then we're going to click configure video. That'll bring up a box like this, I'm sure we've all seen before. But if you are running a Logitech webcam, which I'm sure you probably are, we're going to be downloading the Logitech program itself because when it comes to saving these changes we're about to make to the webcam, they don't always save when you restart your computer, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and download this program. Okay, because I've got OBS open, we are actually going to need to close down OBS to actually save our camera settings. So we'll go ahead and close OBS and our camera should become available in Logitech Capture. Now, for those of you that are following along with a different webcam, you will still be able to use these settings that I'm about to discuss. Okay, so we've got our webcam selected here and we're going to go down to where it says preset and make sure we've got custom selected because then it'll open up all of these different settings for us. The first option here is priority. So we're either going to prioritize frame rate or exposure. Now, the only time I would go ahead and use exposure is if you've got an ever-changing background, like the lighting's changing constantly or you're moving, which I highly doubt it's a webcam. So we're just going to go for performance and that is going to be frame rate. So it's just going to put priority on constantly making sure the frame rate is okay instead of making sure the exposure is okay. Moving down to autofocus. Now this is going to be very different for everyone's cameras. If you do have the Logitech camera, I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you turn autofocus off because if you are sitting in a static position for your streams or for your YouTube videos, you can just manually set the focus to where you're usually sitting. Autofocus also does take away processing power, so if you do have a low-end PC that you're trying to stream or record videos on, it is a good idea to actually turn the autofocus off as well. Moving on to white balance. Now, white balance is going to depend on your surroundings again because, you know, you could either look too warm or too cold depending on the temperature and lighting coming into your room. If you do have your own lighting set up, it can be a little bit better to turn auto white balance off and have a play around and see what looks better for you. But if I go ahead and turn it off, I look cold, it's rainy outside, so of course the natural lighting that's coming in is going to be colder, but then I can play around and boost it up a little bit and it'll actually start to look more presentable. Because if I turn it up too much, I'll start to look really toasty and warm. Moving on to image adjustments. This is going to be different again for everyone and your environment. So have a play around with the brightness, the contrast, and the sharpness, but I would leave the saturation because we're actually going to be adding something in the next step. So if you think your room's a little bit too dark or you think your room's a little bit too bright, you can boost things down a little bit, boost the contrast up if you think you need to be a little bit more colorized, or even down if you think you need to be decolorized. That's a word. Okay, moving on to anti-flicker. Now, this is a little bit confusing because it does vary from country to country. If you live in the UK, Europe, or Australia, you're going to want to select 50 Hertz. But if you live in America, Canada, or Japan, go ahead and click 60 Hertz. All right, we are back in OBS for the final step, guys. We're going to be adding either a filter or a LUT. I will be providing a link in the description down below to a massive pack of LUTs made for free by a fellow OBS user. So we're going to be checking out those now. Essentially what a LUT is kind of like a filter that adds an extra flare or color over the top of the webcam to either bring the colors out or lighten the colors. It's essentially try to see it as like an Instagram filter that you add to your images to make them a little bit more presentable. That's what a LUT is. So let's go ahead and add some to our camera. So jump into OBS, right click your camera and go to filters. We're going to go down to where it says effect filters and click the little plus, and we are going to click apply LUT. Let's just rename this to LUT. Now we're going to browse because these will be in your download section. OBS actually has some themselves, which is pretty cool, but we're going to go ahead to where you've downloaded these LUTs. Okay, so for example, I've just applied a film color over the top of mine. So if I go like this, you'll see the original, there's the filter, original, filter, original. Now the good thing about the LUT filter is you can actually like lower the opacity of the LUT. So I really like this LUT, but I feel like it is too overpowering, but I'm going to lower that to about 75% and see where that is. Well guys, there you have it. A quick brief tutorial on how to make your webcam just look that little bit better when it comes to creating content on YouTube or streaming. If you do want to see more videos like this one, let me know in the comment section down below. For now, have a look at the videos on screen and good luck on your YouTube journey.